Welcome, everyone, to a little bit of light awaiting Moshiach. Before Purim, we had an episode about what is it that we are waiting for? What will change after Moshiach comes? And we spoke about how until Moshiach comes, it's very difficult for us to realize our fullest potential as individuals. To bring out our potential to its fullest is very difficult to do. In essence, we are exiled from ourselves. However, when Mashiach comes, that is when we will be redeemed, we'll be fully in touch with ourselves and realize our fullest potential. Today, I'd like to talk about something else, another change that's going to take place within us. Mesilas Yesharim in Parakut Aleph, when he talks about the trait of Nikias, which means cleanliness in a moral and spiritual sense, he talks about the trait of jealousy. And he describes jealousy as a chesrein yediyah v'sichlis. It's a lack of understanding and foolishness. Ki eina mekane marviach klum la'atzmai v'gam le'mafsid l'mishu miskane boi. The person who's jealous gains nothing, and the person who's jealous about doesn't lose anything. The loss is to himself. So it's foolishness. Now he talks about the different levels of jealousy. Some people are so jealous, he says, that if he sees some kind of goodness that comes upon his friend, he will rot within himself. The yidag, he will worry, the yitztar, and he will suffer. That to the point he's going to suffer so much from it that he won't even be able to appreciate the goodness that he has because of what bothers him for what he sees by his friend. And that is what Shlomo HaMelech in Mishlei is referring to when he said, "Rekav atzamai skina." Jealousy is the rot of the bones. But then the Mesilas Yesharim continues and says that there are others that don't suffer as much. Nonetheless, they always feel some kind of a pain, some kind of a suffering when they see some kind of goodness by somebody else. In the very least, he says, their spirit cools down when they see someone rise at some kind of a level. And the only time he's not going to be bothered by it is if it's someone that he's very close with, someone that he loves very much. But if it's not somebody that he loves very much, or if it's someone that he really may not like, so then it's going to hurt more. At the same time, he says, you'll see such people that on the outside, they're going to appear happy and give, and so to speak, and they're gonna say things as if they're happy. They recognize the person's goodness and that they're satisfied with it, but inside their hearts are weak. And he says this is something that happens to most people, because even though they're not overtaken, they're not consumed by jealousy, nonetheless, they're not able to be completely cleansed from it. And all the more so if it's a competitor. If someone's in the same business as they are, and they're a competitor, then it's even harder to really feel happy for someone else's success. Now here he says, but what's the solution? How are we supposed to overcome that foolishness? If only these people would know and understand. A person can never touch anything that is meant for someone else, even a hair's breadth. Everything comes from Hashem, according to his wondrous judgment, and his wisdom that is unfathomable. Everything comes from Hashem. No one can take anything away from somebody else. You can't take from someone else, and someone else can't take from you. And it's all because of the fact that everything comes from Hashem, and in his ultimate wisdom knows where everything belongs and where everything should be, and what's best for us. And if this is something we can internalize, there'd be no reason to feel bad in someone else's good. for someone else, when someone else has good fortune. Now, this is what we're here for. This is the point that we're bringing this in here for. This is what the prophet foretells regarding the future. This is what the prophet Yeshaya, Isaiah, said in Perek Yud Aleph, chapter 11, which the Messiah Sashar will soon cite this verse. But Perek Yud Aleph is where, chapter 11 is where the prophet Yeshaya, the prophet Isaiah, talks about Mashiach, very straight out. And he says, the Messiah continues, this is what the prophet foretells regarding the future. So that the good of the Jewish people at the time of Mashiach shall be complete. Hashem will first remove from our hearts this ugly trait. And then no one will suffer over what somebody else has. No one will suffer for the good fortune of somebody else. And the successful person will have to hide himself or his words or his manners because of jealousy. There's an idea like that. So now to arouse other people's jealousy, that a person should kind of lay low when they can. But the point is that won't be necessary when Mashiach comes. When Mashiach comes, the Messiah Hashem interestingly says Hashem will first remove this trait from our hearts so that we'll be able to truly experience the good that is meant for us to have when Mashiach comes. And this is what is written. Again, in the book of Yeshaya, Yud Aleph, the book of Isaiah, chapter 11. V'sara kenes Ephraim. The jealousy of Ephraim shall cease. V'tzera Yehuda yikaresu. And the adversaries of Yehuda shall be cut off. Ephraim lo yikana es Yehuda. Ephraim will not be envious of Yehuda. Referring to Ephraim and Yehuda here is referring to the fact that we know that there were eventually two kingdoms in Eretz Yisrael and the Jewish people. There was the Malchus Yehuda, there was the Judean kingdom, and Malchus Yisrael and the Israel kingdom. And many times they were adversaries. So when Mashiach comes, the point is not that there's going to be again these two kingdoms necessarily. Not that there's going to be these two kingdoms, but it means to use as a symbol that, at least as a symbol, Rashi has an explanation to what each one of these is referring to, but it is certainly symbolic of the kind of jealousy and adversarial relationship that existed amongst Jews will cease to happen when Mashiach comes. This is the peace and the serenity that the angels have. They all rejoice over their service to Hashem, each one at their place. None of them are jealous of their friend at all. Because they know the absolute truth. And they are exulting over the good that they have, and they rejoice over their portion, over their lot. So what's going to happen in the times of Mashiach is what will be like the angels. The angels don't have jealousy. Why? Because he says they all know the absolute truth. Meaning, that concept that the Messiah Hashem said before, that if we would only understand that no one touches what someone else has, no one can touch what's designated for someone else because it all comes from Hashem. It's all decided according to Hashem's unfathomable and unbelievable wisdom for our good. If we would internalize that, we wouldn't be jealous. The angels know that very clearly. They're angels. Their connection to Hashem, their perception of Hashem makes it very clear to them. They have no doubts that what they have is exactly for them. They're not missing anything whatsoever. And what they have is the best for them, and it's unbelievable. It's great. And when Mashiach comes, that's what we'll be like. Because as the prophet Yeshaya says, that same parak, Before this pasuk, it says, "Umala mala haaretz deas Hashem." The land will be filled with the knowledge of God. When Mashiach comes, we will be able to perceive Hashem and how Hashem runs the world in a way that we can't do now. But then we will know the emes lamitai. We will know the absolute truth. We will recognize how Hashem runs the world in his unbelievable wisdom and for our good. And with that, we will be able to really be happy, because we'll be happy with what we have, because we'll understand it's the best thing for us. We can be happy with what somebody else has because we understand that it has nothing to do with us. And that is when we'll be able to truly appreciate and experience the good that is destined for us with the coming of Moshiach. May we see this quickly in our days. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful Shabbos.